Let's do a quick camera test. I'm finishing my university now. I've had 3 years at uni and it's time to see how much damage this has done to my bank. The answer is an awful lot of damage. Like, I'm not even sure if I sold a limb of my body, if that would even be enough to cover the amount of money I'm in debt by. I don't really know about that sort of black market stuff though, so. Anyone know? Comment below. How unexpected. Now, it's kind of a worrying prospect because I've never really sat down and thought about how much money I spend. I have a budget and I kind of know that I'm normally below this budget each week, but when you think about all the meal deals I have when I'm studying in the library, and it's not good. And I assume this is the moment, you know, you start regretting torpedoing a VK and then buying a few more, or ask myself why I bought textbooks that I never read for hundreds of pounds and why I used Glide for my bills. But on a serious level, I thought it'd be pretty interesting to see how much money I spent in the UK over the last few years at university. And if you're deciding on if you should come to the UK and you're like, oh, how much would it cost me to live in the UK? You're gonna wanna watch this video because I'll be breaking down pretty much as an average student how much you're gonna spend, because before I went to uni I was kind of unsure about how much I would need. Because first year is the year I probably spent most in. Now, regrets about my spending in first year? None, but my spending was careless, and often I would go to the club. I'm pretty sure I'd take like 20 quid, and then when I would come home, the 20 quid would be gone, but I was never sure if I actually spent it or if I lost it. So then I decided to get phone wallets, guys. If you need a phone wallet, basically, if you're on a night out, stick it to your phone or your phone case, put your student ID in it, money in it. If I'd had one of these, I would know if I spent the money or if I lost it. But yeah, I probably did just buy drinks and forget. Oh, babe, do you want a drink? Yeah, it's 20 quid. Oh, all right, see you later. No, I'm joking. That was never me. I was never buying drinks like that. Oh, Jim, mate. I had this one friend called Jim. He was fairly wealthy, but he used to get super drunk and then he would just go and buy everybody drinks. And he's like, oh, bro, that girl was into me, I promise you. And basically, he would just buy her a drink and then she would disappear and he'd be like, nice. Jim from Sydney, you're a good man. First year, my spending was definitely a bit careless. I never really went past my budget, as I was saying, but how much did I actually spend? Straight up, 9.25k on tuition fees. The big bad tuition fee expenditure. All the money I spent at university, I have zero regrets about it. So although it may seem expensive, worth every penny. Now in first year, I had semi-catered accommodation on campus. I think that semi-catered accommodation was no food at weekends and it was no lunch. I probably spent about 6k, I think it was on that. Yeah, 6k on that. Sports kit and gear, sports memberships. I spent about £400 for that. So sports about £400 really. Fairly expensive, could be worse. I like to get in the kit because obviously if you're going around campus and you're doing a uni sport, you have to wear the uni kit just to show that you're a big dog, of course. So yeah, that's why. Worth the money, definitely. And then in first year, I did buy a textbook. I bought a macroeconomic textbook. That cost me 60 quid. You know what? I haven't bought a textbook since that textbook in first year. Having said that, in the one class I bought the textbook for, I got 86% out of 100, which is insanely good. And I've never got a grade close to that again. And I've never bought a textbook again. So I think I just had a eureka moment at the end of my degree. Oh well. Too late now. Bus traveling stuff in first year and travel to the clubs and stuff. Probably paid about 150 quid for the yearly bus membership. Moving on to some more weekly expenditures. Obviously food, I probably spent about 20 quid a week on food times 36 because that was how many weeks were in the academic year. Alcohol, a mixer, probably about 12.5 quid a week. Bottle of Glens, few beers. Like yeah, I was definitely going out about twice at least in first year. 12.5 times what, 36, probably 450? 450 pounds on alcohol for pre-drinks. That's not even including club drinks. So on yeah, club entry, I went out twice a week, let's say £10 a week, £5 each club, times 36, 360. Then I probably bought 2 drinks in the club, that's another $720. Around £1,500 on pre-drink alcohol, club entry, and drinks in the club. Worth it. It's a bit mad, but worth it. And I would say that in first year, they were my main expenditures. So adding that up is this total right here, and that is about 17, 18k. That is a fair amount of money. I pretty much did first year right. I didn't overspend, I didn't underspend. Maxed out the loan, maxed out everything. I'm just impressed right now that Student Finance England actually know exactly how much you're going to spend, the average student spends, because I am probably the average student in terms of expenditure, and they basically nailed it. So yeah, moving on to second year. My second year was a bit different because I studied abroad in Australia at the University of Sydney in my second year. I did a replacement year. I mean, that kind of whole replacement year thing is, I think you can't do that anymore. So I was one of the last two. And it basically meant that instead of paying 9.2k tuition fees, I only paid the study abroad tuition fees of 1.5k, and I didn't have to resit another year. So I saved about 8k in tuition fees that year. It is a mad loophole, yeah. But obviously, where not everybody does that, I kind of want this to be representative of an average student so you can get an idea of it. So I'm not going to include my second year expenditures because I basically would have spent loads on traveling. I went to the Philippines, New Zealand, mad time. I think if you average out what I spent there and the tuition fee reduction I had of about 8k, it probably evens out a bit. So I'm just going to sack my second year of expenditure and I'm going to double my third year of expenditures, because in third year I probably would have, it would be very similar to second year. I'd have a house, I'd have to pay bills, I'd be cooking for myself, you know, stuff like that. I probably wouldn't go out as much. So we're going to double my third year expenditures to help get the total amount of money that I would have spent over my 3 years economics and finance degree. Now in third year, straight up, tuition fees the same at 9.25k, and then my rent was £373 per month per person. The house was a solid, like, I'd probably give it about a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. In terms of actual overall, like, aesthetics, was it nice, etc. It was very good money. We got it on Gumtree, a bit mad, but it basically meant we didn't go for an estate agent. We paid a bit less because it was only like 90 quid a week. So yeah, 373 times 12, let's say, because the average lease of a contract is a year. Rent was about 4.5k for the year. Not too bad actually. And then you'd have to move on to sports clubs and memberships and kid again. That's another 400 right there, bang. Then we move on to travel. Now travel in third year, I had a bike, that trusty bike that you know, I did a partnership with the local bike store, local community. I'm all about that, of course. Made a video on them. Hopefully they did well. Shout out York Recycle. The bike just about did the job. So yeah, the bike did the job. So that would have been 50 quid if I didn't do the partnership, so we add that to the expenses. And then moving on to the weekly expenses, food, the big bad boy. Now, I eat a lot of food. If I cook 2 meals at once, I just have to eat it. So I actually end up spending a lot more on food. And I'm a real sucker for a good meal deal. I do spend a fair bit on food. I would say the very least I spent on food each week was £40. 40 times 36 for the academic years. That is £1,440 on food. Then moving on to alcohol, a mixer per week in third year. I probably spent about 3 quid on that, let's say 3 quid. Club entry, I didn't go out too much, probably on average about 1 quid a week on that. So I went out every like 5 weeks, let's say. And club drinks, 1 or 2 here and there, probably about £0.50 each week if I had to average it out. And obviously I didn't miss third term. So summing that up, my third year expenditures, we're looking at about 16.5k. Times that by 2, we're looking at 33k, plus first year expenditures about 18k. 33 plus 18, £51,000 of expenditures related to university. That's a lot of money. I just spent 50k in 3 years on living. So as a university student, you can expect your net income to be minus 50k over the course of 3 years. Now, me personally, what would mine actually be? You see, I did a lot more traveling up and down to London than most people would, because I was like acting, coming home for auditions, stuff like that. I went to Australia, obviously. I traveled loads in Australia. I stayed at a really nice college. I lived a good life for a whole year. But then in between, I also had jobs. I obviously have YouTube, did sponsorships, acting. Okay, my net income is just honestly too hard to work out. Given I had more income than most people probably over uni life and more expenditures, probably about minus 45k, I don't know. And I saved that on tuition fees. You can expect to spend around £50,000, like $66,000-ish, I'm guessing, on 3 years of education in the UK. I mean, in some US schools, isn't the tuition fee for 1 year 66k? That is a bit nuts. And if I decide to do a master's, we'll just add another 25k to that at least, probably. Obviously, I've just gone through what I spent in a year and stuff like that. Do you reckon I underestimated it or overestimated it? And let me know in the comments down below what you think you spent over the last 3 years or year of your university life. I'd genuinely be interested to know. So, guys, if you did enjoy, leave a like. If you're new around here, subscribe. And I'm just gonna go think about my life for a bit. If this gets 50k likes, Student Finance England will let me off of all my debt.